Hello, this is Captain Crazy.
And Princess.
And this is our RWBY review for Volume 4, Chapter 5.
Called Menagerie.
This is 2 weeks after the last review. They did do a World of Remnant Faunus in between, so they did take a week off. And this is also quite a bit of a shorter chapter than we have had the last, well, at least the first 4 chapters of this volume.
It's only about 12 minutes long.
And that's with all the credits and stuff. So take all that out and it's only about 9 minutes. And considering most of them have been up around the 20-minute mark, it's a significant difference, and it's back to the length the old ones were, actually.
But no black silhouettes.
Yes, no black silhouettes.
Which is good.
Yes. So it seems that this volume has gone a very different route than the last volume, because the last volume was very combat oriented and still had some story elements. This one seems to be very much story centric. They showed off their visuals last volume, and this time they seem to be showing off their storytelling.
Which is interesting storytelling, but you find it very slow and think nothing happens.
I think, personally, very little happened in this chapter. We learned very little new information and didn't really do much to progress the story along, considering it was a short chapter to begin with. She thinks otherwise, but
You meet new characters. We finally get introduced to people that we see in the opening credits, who we thought was maybe Blake's father or mentor is actually her father on the boat. And we also meet Blake's mother, who we thought was a sibling. We were way off.
well, shorter than Blake, we figured. Well, even we didn't notice the little line, the age line underneath the eyes.
My mom's shorter than me. By a lot.
Your mom's shorter than both you and your sisters. Moving on. So this chapter starts off and is 100% Blake-centric.
99.9%.
99.9% Blake-centric. We get a very short little scene at the very end that is not Blake. So it's the boat arriving at Menagerie, and her and Son, it is Son, right?
It is.
It is Son, walking off the boat, and Son sees everything for the first time because he has never been to Menagerie, where this is Blake's hometown. So Son makes a couple of comments that it's very crowded, and basically, why is it so crowded? And Blake kind of describes that 2/3 of the island is a uninhospitable desert, and so they're relegated to that very small section where all of the faunus live.
So this land, Menagerie, was given to them actually as a sign to show that they're equals, but it's a very inhospitable land, and like you said, only 2/3 of it, 2/3 of it is desert that they cannot even inhabit.
So yes, very condensed, a lot of people, or a lot
very
of
crowded
faunus, all in a very small spot, but they're all welcome or feel welcome and are all treated as equals, with the exception of one apparently, because
there is still rich and powerful faunuses.
yeah, there's a giant ass house, and it just happened to be Blake's parents'. It's kind of a parallel to Weiss in a way. So you've got the high and mighty of the human realm, which is Weiss's father.
The Schnee family company.
Yes, and his backhanded type way of doing things. And then you've got the faunus, where they're noble. Well, what am I trying to say? Blake's father, who's kind of like the noble or the high chieftain of all of Menagerie.
They refer to him as Your Grace.
Exactly. But at the end, his exact title is High Chieftain of Menagerie. So the High Chieftain gets this giant house, but you see a very big difference between him and Mr. Shmee.
Snee.
Snee. You know, Mr. Shmee from Hook. No? Okay. So, there's a big difference in their personalities and how they go about things. The backhandedness versus he almost is kind. Or at least that's the first impression we get of him. But yes, so Sun, when they first get there, goes, so which house is yours? Can I see it from here? And is it over there? Where's that one? And then,
the giant one in the center.
That was loud. Yeah, it was. And this, like, perfect sound came out that made us laugh. And we watched the episode multiple times, and it made us laugh multiple times. But yeah, so he's shocked to learn that Blake's family seems to be very important.
Rich and powerful. And
or important.
important, yes.
And they go and they knock, and the mother, who we thought was a sibling, answers the door, greets her, and they bring her in. They talk about a whole lot of nothing.
So, the destruction of Beacon Academy is nothing?
They didn't really talk about that much. It was more jokes about Sun and how the...
seen her in action!
Yeah, I've seen her in action. She's really good. And the father is, so what exactly do you mean by that?
Very awkward for Sun, kind of like bringing your boyfriend home for the first time to meet the family. Though, unintentionally, because, he just kind of followed her home. Which is exactly what Blake says to her mom.
It's a little bit of deja vu.
You didn't follow me home, though.
Oh, kinda. So, anyways, part of the way through their discussion about a whole lot of nothing, the door knocks, and it is for a meeting that the High Chieftain had, and we discover that it's with the White Fang.
Dun dun dun.
So he's talking about the White Fang as if they've done nothing wrong, and Blake runs to the door and, why are you here? Like, how dare you, basically.
How dare you talk to him? Why are you here? What's your purpose?
And so Blake reveals the whole nasty truth that
the White Fang was involved with the attack on Beacon, killed a whole bunch of innocent people, and
then the White Fang makes a bullshit. Oh, they're a rebellious splinter cell group that, they don't belong to the rest of us anymore. We just didn't have any proof. Now we do. So now that we have proof, we're
going to deal with it.
Yeah, we're going to get rid of them, but that's not how the White Fang operates. And here's our council meeting notes saying that, this is how we're going to deal with him. But the father basically goes, go away, I'll deal with you another day because my daughter came home. So, after that, basically the White Fang people walk away, and they say what an interesting development this is that Blake is there, because they did not expect Blake to be back home, and I guess ruining their plans of being able to pull the wool over his eyes for a little bit longer.
Well, she had completely disappeared from Beacon without a trace. Nobody really knew where she was going, not even the rest of her team, so...
Which is very true.
This is probably her first appearance.
Besides on the boat, that really wouldn't have too much way of communicating with anybody anyway.
Exactly.
And since she saved the boat, isn't likely to rat her out, shall we say?
Yeah.
Or know that she's important to begin with.
Exactly.
But as the White Fang people are leaving, they make a comment that they need to tell Adam about this. So, hence the whole bullshit story about the council. That's just... technically it could be true, but they could be part of Adam's splinter cell. So, they could be telling the truth, except that they aren't part of the general, they're part of the splinter cell themselves.
Or is the splinter cell actually the legitimate group? And do you think more of the White Fang are corrupt, or... I don't know. This tends to lean more towards that the entire White Fang is now corrupted. and knows exactly what's going on, even though they pretend not to and think it's a Splinter Cell.
Yep. So we then get spurted off to the scene that is not Blake-centric, which is with Tyrion, who is approaching the maid from the bar in the previous chapter, and he's laughing maniacally. And what's funny is he's got the same eyes as Blake's family. There's little yellow beady eyes.
I don't think there's a connection.
I don't know. Eyes are important in this series.
You think that he's an uncle?
Yeah, an uncle, a relative of some sort, but then he doesn't seem to have a faunus thing unless it got chopped off.
Or hidden.
Or it's hidden. Because he does sit really weird, and the father almost looks like gorilla ape-ish, which works really well with Sung because,
That's why he doesn't like him.
That's why he doesn't like him. But it basically just fades out with his yellow eyes, and that's the end of the chapter. Like I said, we don't really learn much because we already knew the White Fang was corrupt. The only thing we learned is Blake's... Oh, we missed something. Blake's father used to be the leader of the White Fang.
Which explains a lot of why Blake got involved with the White Fang in the first place.
Yes. So, literally, all that this showed us was that Blake's family was important. And
is still important.
And is still important. And that her father used to run the White Fang. And now runs Menagerie.
And Tyrion is close on the trail of RWBY.
We already knew that he was going after her, so...
But now you see that he's very close to her because he's in that same inn that they were just at in the previous chapter.
For all of about 5 seconds. So, not a lot happens. We don't get a lot of new information, and considering it's been 2 weeks between episodes, I was expecting more, to be honest. Yes, it does progress the story a little bit, but... Yeah, this episode, yeah, for me.
Chapter 3 is still my favorite episode, but I really like, again, the interaction between Blake and Sun. I find the humor from Sun just, him as a character just keeps growing on me. He has like no filter, says whatever comes to his mind, just, well, that was creepy.
I can't stand him.
I love him. He's growing on me a lot, actually, as a character, and the interactions between Blake and Sun. I also thought it was interesting with the White Fang, the difference in appearance. They seem more like... Monks. Like, I would think that they're more like the religious aspect of it, if there is a religious tone to the White Fang. I don't know, they seemed a lot more somber. They didn't have the full masks overhead, so it'd be interesting to know what their role is specifically in the White Fang versus the ones that have just the masks over.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's basically it for this week. I am Captain Crazy.
And I'm Princess.
And we will see you next week, hopefully, as long as they don't do another World of Remnant. Remnant. Cheerio!
Bye.